Now, in our post-COVID era, we don't have any more the Dollar Tree. We have the $1.25 tree. We don't have any more gas for under $3. It's $3.68 today. They got rid of Applebee's 2 for $20, but guess what this administration hasn't been able to do? Get rid of my 2 for $20. So I sell my books, each one of them, for $10 each. You get them on Barnes and Nobles in the store, or you get them at Amazon. They're $16.99. So I got my special deal today, 2 for $20. How many people in here have ever seen the movie Rain Man? Oh, so Rain Man was about Raymond Bobbitt, and he was the actual character was based on a savant named Kim Peck. And the guy who made the character Rain Man was Dr. Trefford. He was a world-renowned psychiatrist, and before he went on to be with the Lord, he did one more assignment. He wrote the foreword for my third book, Views from the Spectrum. And on December 14th, 2 years ago, after his Packers beat our Lions, he went on in his sleep. He went home to be with God. And he was a strong Christian. And while writing Views from the Spectrum, I interviewed a NASCAR driver, Armani Williams. His story's in here. Rachel Barcelona, when I interviewed her, she was Miss Tampa. She just became Miss Florida. And in 2 weeks, she could become Miss what? America. So she's competing. So I interviewed 20 of the most amazing people. We were talking about baseball. There's a pro baseball player's story in here. Tarko, who's on the autism spectrum. I interviewed his mom and him and share his story. And then while writing A Parent's Guide to Autism, I interviewed 50 of the most influential people in the autism community. People like Temple Grandin, people like Dr. Lynn Coiney, the founder of UCLA Autism Center. And when I interviewed her, she wrote an original story for my chapter, Story on the Hearts. So you can get these 2 books for only $20, 2 for $20. Today I'm going to share my amazing journey with autism. My development began normal. I said my first word, mommy, at 9 months. And what I like to say is, any child who thinks they're going to be drowned is going to call out mom, mom. And I went from being able to say mommy to only mom, mom. And that happened at 18 months. 25% of all children with autism are going to go through a time of regression like I went through. My mom knew there was something drastically different between me and my brother Chuck and Steve, who were older than me. So she took me to a pediatrician. The pediatrician gave good advice if you're dating, not for someone who's cognitively delayed. She said this: men are like fine wine. You got to give them time. Women are like flowers, they blossom quickly. My mom knew that time was the essence. She immediately took me to the pediatrician, or she immediately got me intense speech therapy. I was in intense speech therapy all the way from age 2 to age 16. When I was 7 years old, my brother Chuck would introduce me to people saying, "You need to meet my brother Ron. I think he's from Norway." He'd have me talk. No one knew what I was saying. So I became an expert on Norwegian language. When I was 7 years old, I began kindergarten, and my development was so delayed that the school specialists wanted to label me emotionally impaired. The reason they wanted to label me emotionally impaired is if it's emotional, they don't have to do anything to educate you. And my mom said it's not emotional, it's neurological. And in 1982, she took me to Henry Ford Hospital, and Dr. Delgado, a world-renowned neuropsychologist, after spending 3 days with me, diagnosed me with autism. When I diagnosed with autism in 1982, it was only 1 in 10,000 children were diagnosed with autism. The current rate is 1 in every 36 children in the United States will be diagnosed with autism. It's on the rise according to CDC. And when my mom told the school experts that I had autism, they said, if your son has autism, he'll never read beyond his 7th grade level, never attend college, never have meaningful relationships, and he'll never excel in sports. And my mom, being a great mom, quit her job as an art teacher and became a full-time Ron teacher. Working with me using art, I was able to graduate from Oral Roberts University with a Master of Divinity, perfect 4-point grade point average. This past December 7th, I celebrated my 10th anniversary, wedding anniversary. And for you, history buffs, what is December 7th? It's the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And having autism, I came in like a kamikaze, a whirlwind of fire. And March 20th, 2016, Mikhail Maria was born. And I now have 3 nationally published books. And I got full ride to college for track and cross country. None of this would have been possible except for love and acceptance, my mom working with me, and professionals. My mom believed in something called autism refined, not cured. I can't cough on you today and you get the autism flu. No matter what Fauci says, autism isn't caused like the flu. My mom believed that autism wasn't something you could cure, you could refine. First I'm going to talk about autism unrefined. Autism unrefined looks like this. You look out there, it's a beautiful day out there, and you decide you're going to go to Lake Michigan, or you're going to go to the ocean on a beautiful day. You're walking barefoot in the parking lot on that hot black pavement. As you're walking, you feel something sharp. You go down, you pick it up, it's a piece of glass. Someone was having Miller time, now you're having Technoshot time. Autism unrefined, for me, was little ability to control my emotions. Most kids are like bottled water. They get shaken up, stirred up, nothing much happening. I'm carbonated more like Mountain Dew. I get shaken up, stirred up, kaboom. Anyone want to do the do? Autism unrefined for me was little ability to filter what I say. I was like Trump on Twitter. Whatever came in my mind, I'd spew it out. The good thing back then is there was no way to prove or disprove what I said or not. My favorite autism unrefined moment happened in 1996. I was working at a car wash across the street from Open University. As I'm driving to work that day, they announced on 97.1 the ticket. Today, Wayne Fonts was fired from the head coach of the Lions. He had one of the best running backs all time in Barry Sanders, a great wide receiver in Herman Moore, and a great quarterback in Scott Mitchell, and they didn't make the playoffs with the #1 offense. And as I'm drawing out the cars, who should show up there and person himself? Wayne Fonts. I noticed something. The young kids who work there, they all got pen and paper. They're having Wayne sign paper. I go in the back, hand him paperwork. I kid you not, he looked like this. Confused. Like he was coaching again. Son, is that what I think it is? I said, yes, Wayne, that's a job application. Today they announced on 97.1 the ticket, you were fired, you weren't Ford tough. Martha, she kicked you to the curb. See that bug there? That's defense. You work here, you're going to learn some defense. And last year, I was working at the hospital, and I came out to go work my unit, and all of a sudden a young guy came up to me in his 40s, and he said, did you used to work at a car wash? Did you go to Oral Roberts University? And I said, how do you remember me? He said, well, I was a manager at that car wash, and I don't think anyone there will ever forget you giving Fonts that job application. So my mom was inspired to help me develop my gifts and talents and refine autism. She was inspired by Proverbs 22:29. You see a man skilled in his labor, he will serve before kings, do not serve before obscure men. Now this is what autism refined looks like, unlike something where you could get cut. You're off that hot black pavement. You're walking along Lake Michigan. You're walking along the ocean. And as you're walking, it feels good. Din, din. I knew that it would. So good, I got it made. It was a piece of glass, or it was refined by something greater than itself. It was refined by the grace of God. It was refined by learning social skills, speech therapy. It was refined by art therapy. Now that piece of glass, you don't throw out. You put it on your neck, is jewelry. You put it on a wall, is art. And my mom was determined to develop those talents, develop those gifts. I'd be doing great things. And this day I've met many famous people and been able to go all around the world. I've spoken everywhere from Israel to Madagascar. 2002 I spoke in, or 2001 I spoke in Madagascar when I went there on a mission trip at ORU. They always had me as a guest speaker in all the churches and everywhere I've gone. So my mom noticed something when I was 7 years old and I was in the education system. They had a 2-teacher rule. Much like we have 2 doors here, one there and one at the other side. The first door was the front door. They have a teacher there to make sure the kids didn't go out that front door. The second door, they'd have a teacher there to make sure you didn't go out the back door. So they weren't educating people, they were babysitting. My mom said, if you babysit my son, the best he's going to be is bagging groceries. The best he's going to be is a bellboy holding the door open, washing dishes. He has great talents and great abilities. And like Daniel, he's served before kings by his unique gifts. And my mom noticed something, that autism wasn't just one disability. Notice when I write my name, how did I write it, Ron? Backwards. So I also had dyslexia. I also got dysgraphia, so I can pass for any doctor with my signature. So what my mom did was this. She knew I had great ability in art. And in fact, I'm in a film called Fearless Love and Art. If you Google it, it'll come up. It's narrated by Temple Grandin, researched by Dr. Trevor, the world-renowned doctor who worked in putting together a Rain Man character. And when I was 5 years old, I was drawing this artwork. She'd have me share a story. My mom would write down the story, have me rewrite it using my artwork. And I went from dyslexia to no dyslexia by age 7. And my mom used my special interest. With autism, it's very unique, special interest. So in the 80s, most people had He-Man, the most what? Powerful man in the universe. Transformers, more than meets the eyes. Yeah. Teenage Mutant Turtles. Turtles in a half shell. Yeah. And then there was me. I had Prairie Pup. No one else had a prairie dog. It was very unique. Most people with autism, it's parts of toys rather than the whole toys. It's trains, it's Pokemon. And my mom used Prairie Pup to teach me skills. One girl made him a cowboy outfit. One made him a jean jacket. One made him a dress. So I don't know if now he probably could compete in the Olympics as a who knows what, prairie type dog. But you know what it is with Prairie Pup? That he's bald. He's in desperate need of Rogaine. If anyone wants to give him his life. But do not, I repeat, do not give him Viagra, because he's the oldest prairie dog in the world, and he'd have a heart attack. So in 3rd grade, my teacher had me enter the Detroit Edison poster contest. Anyone around in the 80s, remember the commercial for Detroit Edison? There's Isaiah Thomas, and he's on one knee with a kid, right? And he says what? Look up. Yeah, look up. And the kid says, I don't see anything. What does Isaiah say? Good, there's no electrical light. So I entered the contest, and this is what my posters showed. Showed Prairie Pup building a fort near electrical wires, and there's a squirrel, and he's about to hit a hammer to a transmitter. And it says, look up. You don't want to become a furry fried friend. And it won first prize. Prairie Pup got to meet Isaiah Thomas. He went on in 2002. We worked with American Heroes. One of my friends was in charge of it. He got to meet Muhammad Ali. He got to meet Roberta Flack. He went on to meet Streets from Saved by a Bell in 2012. And the most amazing place and unique place Prairie Pup's been wasn't Israel, wasn't Madagascar. It was Kurt Armstrong, Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. When I met him, I said, can you put your finger up your nose and take a picture with Prairie Pup? He said, I'll take it to the next level. And Prairie Pup has been up the nose of Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. That's the most amazing place to fit. With autism, too, we also have sensory issues to touch a lot of times. And my favorite sensory issue incident happened when I was in 4th grade. They had a clown with a red nose. He had red hair, white makeup, and he was complete with a lamb puppet. And they brought him to a Cub Scout event with over 200 people present for the main event. And I didn't know that I was going to be the main event. My mom had me sit front and center. And the clown knew nothing about autism, but very quickly he was going to become an expert in autism language. He thought it'd be funny to take the hat off my head, put it on this kid's head, put it back on mine. Having sensory issues, I grabbed that lamb puppet and I proceeded to beat the living snot out of the clown in front of about 200 people. Red nose went on the floor, the hair came out, the makeup came out, and I went running out of there. I never became an eagle, although I flew like an eagle out of there. I was more aggressive than a wolf. They didn't give me a wolf badge. And for goodness sake, they didn't even give me a bobcat for all the effort I put in. But the next day they met and said, Art, if he'd do that to a clown, imagine what he'd do to one of our kids if he ever lost his temper. And I was the first kid officially kicked out of the Cub Scouts of America for autism. And I got my first honey badger on my honeymoon. And the honey badger really represents meltdowns, because when we have a meltdown, we lose all our ability to control ourselves, all ability to express ourselves. And my first honey badger, when I got on my honeymoon, he growled at me, I growled back. He was in a window of a big department store. And when I bought him, I didn't realize when you pressed his paw, every F-bomb in the book comes out in a whiz voice. The honey badger doesn't give up. So I went on Amazon, got a declawed one that I bring when I speak, because this one I don't want, the other one I wouldn't want going off and you think me doing a live demonstration of a meltdown. And beginning in 1994, my junior year of high school, my life is on the right track. I gave my life to Jesus Christ, made him Lord and Savior. I gave up swearing, started hanging out with the right friends. I was running track. In my junior year, my relay team finished 12th in the state of Michigan for the 3,200 relay. And I was one of the fastest runners for the 800-meter relay, or 800-meter run at the time. And on the way back from the track meet, our anchor said this: next year will be the fastest relay team in the state of Michigan, but we won't have Ron on our relay team. He said that because I just held back in kindergarten, and the Michigan High School Athletic Association has an age limit of 19, and I was 3 months past the age limit. And right then I heard, as clear as I'm speaking today, God speak to me by the Holy Spirit saying, I'll provide a way for you to compete on the track team. I said, I'm going to compete on the track team. Coach, his name was Bud, and he laughed and said, there's no way you're going to compete on the team. No one's done it in the past 20 years. And he thought I was on Bud when I said that. So my mom, being a great advocate, started calling all the lawyers. The MHSAA said it'd be a cool day at HELL before they let me compete. And it gets cold in Michigan, but not that cold. She called the lawyer. You know what the Bernstein said? We can't see this case. Lee said it wouldn't be free. Mike said I can't win this case. I like Feiger's answer the best. I had a few drinks. I'm in the bar. When I get out, I'll give you a call back. He was on a highway to easy. But no puns intended. Every lawyer said the same thing. It cost over $40,000, which my parents couldn't afford. And I came back from a 5-mile run. When I got back from the 5-mile run, there on the front page of Detroit Free Press was a young man named Craig Stanley. He was born May 1975, same month, same year. He was a track and cross country runner as I was, and he had a disability, and the MHSAA said they wouldn't let him compete. So my mom got together with his family, and first words out of my mouth is, me and Craig are going to compete on the track team. God's going to provide a way. He's already given me the word. I don't know how it's going to happen. So my mom contacted Detroit News that week, and on the front page of Detroit Free Press, there on the front page was Craig Stanley and me stating that now 2 young men's civil rights are being violated. That Sunday I was getting water baptized to show my commitment to following Christ. I made Jesus the Lord and the Savior, and I wanted to share my testimony to the world by getting water baptized. And when I got water baptized, when I came out of the water, the minister had a look on his face excitement. He said, I saw something when you came out of that water. It was Joel 2:25. I repaid the years of the locusts, great locusts, young locusts, the other locusts, the locust swarm, my great army is sent among you. He said, there is a disability in your life that ate away like locusts, and God is saying he's repaying it now. Now in the 90s, we didn't have cell phones. Thank goodness we weren't so archaic. We had to use our feet to drive like the Flintstones. But we had a thing called an answering machine. It was about this big, this high. When I got home and I saw our answering machine, it was blinking red. And I pressed the button, up came the time of the phone call, 9 a.m., the exact time I came out of the water. It was this. Hi, my name is Rick Lamb. I just got my PhD from Boston College. I got my law degree from the University of Michigan, and I want to take your case pro bono. All I need is your signature. So we went out to Ann Arbor, I signed on, we won the case. We ended up running the second fastest time in the state of Michigan for the 3200 relay. I got full ride to college, to Michigan Christian College, which then later became Rochester University.
Yeah.
I got an academic scholarship to Oral Roberts University and did my MDiv, but the story doesn't end there. Remember how I began my presentation saying, while writing my book, A Parent's Guide to Autism, Practical Advice, Biblical Wisdom, I interviewed 50 of the most influential people working in the autism field and 20 unique people. One of the people I interviewed was Gary Marison. And when I interviewed him, he said this, I'm going to tell you the end of your book and the end of your presentations, which I'm going to share the story of. So Gary Marison is very influential in the autism community. How many people have ever heard of applied behavioral analysis, ABA therapy? Most used therapy in the world. There's only one reason it's the most used therapy in the world, Gary Marison. Gary Marison had 2 autistic kids with a high-powered lawyer, and they told him, his insurance companies, we won't pay for your kids to get ABA therapy. It's not proven. We don't know if it's effective. This was 1990s. And he said, you don't have to pay for my kids to have ABA therapy because I'm going to make you pay for everyone in the United States who has a kid with autism for their ABA therapy to be covered by their insurance. So he started taking insurance companies to the Supreme Court. He won 1 case, won 2 cases. And by the time he was done, he had won 14 cases, and ABA therapy became a household name because of Gary Marison. And when I talked to him and interviewed him, he said, the ending of your book, the ending of your main presentation is going to be the story of Anthony Storello. And I'm going to share the story of Anthony Storello. Ray and Rayanne, kind of like Raggedy Ann and Anthony. They were unable to have kids, Ray and his wife Rayanne. And they believed that with love, acceptance, anything is possible. So they decided to adopt a special needs kid to show that love and acceptance, anything is possible with God. So they go to this foster home and they see this kid, little Anthony, and he's going like this on a couch. And not knowing anything about autism, they took it as he wanted him to sit by it. And instantly they knew they wanted to adopt Anthony. And they said, we're going to adopt Anthony. The lady in charge of the foster home said, we never thought anyone would adopt Anthony. He's severely autistic. He has meltdowns and will break everything in the house like a bowl in a china shop. He also has digestive issues. His IQ is 50. On a Bill curve, the average IQ is 100. So he had half the average IQ. But Ray and his wife said, we know God's got a plan for him. We're going to adopt him. And Ray was a huge sports fan. He knew that 20% of all behavioral issues, anxiety, and issues that a kid has can go down if they're involved in sports. And they'll learn social ability to interact. So he tries soccer. There's little Anthony with his head down. Nothing's happening. Tries baseball. Thank God there's angels in the outfield or this story might not take place. He's getting hit every which way, so he knows it's not going to work out. But when Anthony's 13 years old, his dad takes him to Rutgers football game. And it's a big game. LSU is playing Rutgers. LSU is undefeated at the time. If LSU loses, they can't be national champs. They don't have the playoffs back there. And Rutgers finds themselves in a unique position as an underdog. The score is tied. There's 3 seconds left. They're in field goal range. And a man named Jeremy Lin, who's a place kicker through Rutgers, does a repetitive behavior. If you know anything about autism, we on the spectrum love repetitive behavior. This is repetitive behavior. He looks up, points up, place kicker, does 3 steps forward, 1 step back, kicks, goes for the upright. Rutgers wins. Anthony's nostalgic. And all the way home, all Anthony can say is, I want to play football, I want to play football. His dad says, as a football player, you could get injured if someone touches you, you could have a meltdown, but he's undeterred. With bright lights, he's undeterred. For the next 3 years, his dad works with him. His junior year of high school, Anthony makes a football team. North Shores in New Jersey has a losing record. His senior year, Anthony makes a football team again. They have a losing record. And in New Jersey, if you have autism, you're given 1 extra year of high school for social skills and learn academic skills. Now Anthony is 19 years old, and he uses his famous line, I want to play football, I want to play football. And the New Jersey Athletic Association tells Anthony's dad, Ray, there's no way an HELL will let him play football in New Jersey past the age limit. So Anthony's dad calls Gary Marison. Gary Marison says this, let me look on the law book, see if there's any precedent-setting case, and I'll get back to you. He goes and looks, and there he found it. Sanderson versus the MHSAA. He says, we got a case, we're going to take him on, and we're going to win. And God is working in the background. He brings a great defensive line. He brings a great quarterback. Thank God, God didn't bring Wayne Fonts, or this wouldn't be a good ending. And Anthony finds himself in a state final doing a repetitive behavior. He looks up, points up, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, kicks. He gets 2 field goals in North Shore, New Jersey, wins its first state championship. None of this would have been possible except for parents who loved, who advocated, like my parents, and knew that God has a plan for people with disabilities. And Temple Grandin says it best. Autism makes me different, but not less. A lot of times people look at my life and they look at my accomplishments, they don't realize how long it took me to accomplish this thing. When I was 30 years old, my grandpa said this, life has a way of overlooking some people like Ron. And my mom said this, life hasn't overlooked Ron, it's time to rise and shine, and has just not yet come, and it will come. And here's some background about my grandma and grandpa. My grandpa was with my grandma. They did 100 plays all across Michigan, Dearborn Inn, Frankenmuth. They did plays even on a train one time. And they got on Good Morning America, and Regis referred to my grandma as a homicide grandma. She had 3 nationally published books. And a year after my grandpa died, guess what happened? My first book came out. And my mom said she noticed something. I was speaking at the Dearborn Inn. Unlike Grandma and Grandpa, when he had 100 people there to play, I had 200 people there. I was speaking at Frankenmuth. Unlike my Grandma and Grandpa, who had 100 people there were 500 people for the company I was doing the conference for. And my mom said, if only Grandpa could see it now. So with autism, delays don't mean denials. God has a plan. I'm going to end on this quote. Any fool can see an apple on a tree, but it takes vision and dedication to see that orchard and that apple tree. So when you see people with autism, realize that God has a plan for them, God has a purpose for them, and that plan and purpose with therapy, love, and acceptance, anything is possible. Jeremiah 29:11 says that, I know the plans I have for you, plans of prosper, not harm, plans to give you a hope and a future. And thanks so much.